My name is Ryan Schohr, and I'm a sixth-generation farmer here in southwest Butte County in Northern California. We farm in the heavy clay soils here in the Sacramento Valley, and rice is our primary crop. You're on a very historic farm with us today. Not only are we sixth-generation farmers, but we're probably looking after the seventh generation young farmers here, and so we've been doing it in California since 1861. I say historic because this farm is the first to harvest rice commercially in California in 1910, and we're still doing it today. So we've got a lot of firsts, and we hope to continue that way. And so we like to be innovators and making sure that there's a great place for the next generation to grow up. This is where we grew up. This is our farm. This is our home, and so we want to keep it that way. It's really healthy soils are a big part of that.
Great. Amazing, Ryan. Thank you for having us out here again. We understand here that we're really interested in your reduced tillage practices taking place on the farm right now. What can you tell us about some of the perceived benefits with reduced tillage as it pertains to rice operation?
Yeah, well, when I was a kid, we tilled the soil ahead of planting at least 4 times. It included 2 tillage passes with a chisel, 2 additional passes with a disc, and then we leveled the fields and prepared them for fertilizer and flooding and seeding. And as innovators, as early adopters of technology, we look for tools that can help streamline that process in terms of being a benefit to us economically, but also time and getting our crop planted in a timely manner to maximize yields. And by maximizing yields, we're maximizing our resources, like water certainly as well. And so a couple years ago, we embarked on a path to transition to some conservation type tillage, and I think we finally found the tools, the pieces of the puzzle to do that after some trial and error. And with the help of this Healthy Soils grant, we're able to implement that on our farm this year. So we've got fields now that we're doing in 2 tillage passes. So we've gone from 4 to 2, and in some cases, as you may see today, we're taking it to 1. If we leave the tillage in the fall for the decomposition of the rice straw in a good state, we can just get by with 1 tillage pass in the spring, we think. So we'll go take a peek at some of that today.
Amazing, a 50% to 75% reduction in tillage passes.
That's right.
I understand.
So that saves us a tremendous amount of diesel fuel. That saves us a tremendous amount of tractor time. Tractors depreciate very rapidly, and we can get across the fields faster to do our planting faster. It creates less PM, particularly matter of PM in the environment, because we're reducing the amount of time and tillage out there in the field, so there's less dust in the air, and it allows us to get our crops planted in a more timely manner, we think. And so again, we're trying to maximize yields. We're pretty good stewards if we can take 150 to 180 pounds of seed and turn that into 10,000 pounds of rice. I think that's a key part of our sustainability story, is being able to do that, and we want to do that even faster, cheaper, and more environmentally friendly, right? Those are our key components to us, to keep this farm sustainable in lots of different ways for another generation.
Absolutely. So no matter what side of the aisle you sit on, it seems like these practices that are really aimed at sustainability have benefit to the farmer and to the actual agricultural production within California. Am I correct?
That's right. Benefit to the farmer's bottom line, to their family as well, right? So if we're only making 2 tillage passes instead of 4 or 5, if it rains, our employees, our team members get to go home maybe a little more early and spend Sundays and Saturdays with their families. So do we. So I think it's also a work-life balance that's an important part of that. That's probably immeasurable in some ways, right? We can't always put a number value on time spent with our family, but that's part of this goal as well. And I think that just makes for healthier communities all the way around. When you have farmers who are economically sustainable, environmentally sustainable, and that their families and their team members' families are a good unit and a good part of the community as well.
Absolutely. Now, were there any some constraints with moving to some of this more specialized equipment as far as training, specialized labor that goes into this? How did that transition go on farm, day to day, getting up to speed with this new practice?
Yeah, no doubt there are some hurdles there with training employees who may not have familiarity with that program or with the new tool or with the new procedures to set that implement up. And it really takes some horsepower to pull these implements. I think those are the biggest hurdles that we've seen, is you have the right tractor, the right horsepower to pull them, and then you have to have some good team members who are willing to learn new methods and procedures that are different, certainly than all the neighbors around us who are doing things maybe in a more traditional or conventional way.
Have you had any points of contention with your labor or your neighbors, wondering what the heck you're doing out here? Or no, have you seen pretty good exception of these practices?
No, there's been a great acceptance of these practices. We've had neighbors ask us to help them prepare some of their fields this way already this year. So we're excited about that. It's fun to see neighbors really slow down when we're near the public roadways to take a peek at what's going on. And it's also interesting for us to see how fast we can get a field ready today versus what it was maybe even 5 or 10 years ago when it took us a long time to get those fields ready. And we've had challenging weather patterns the last couple of years. It's been very, very wet. Prior to that, it's been very dry for a couple of years. So that's the other thing about challenges. We've had to find tillage tools that can allow us to go in some of these wetter conditions. And sometimes Mother Nature just doesn't cooperate. Right? We get these rains, which we're blessed with, but it just makes for a delayed planting season. When we try to gather the fields, you just can't get big machines and tools in the field to do the tillage. And so because of our rice fields, the way they're set up, again, they're a home for migrating waterfowl on the Pacific Flyway. So our fields in the spring and summer and fall are used for production practices, and then in the wintertime they become like hotels or Airbnbs for ducks and geese that migrate on the Pacific Flyway. So our fields are flooded in many cases or collect the rainwater to provide habitat for ducks and geese.
Amazing.
So it's kind of a neat process, and that also helps break down and decompose the straw, we think, to make it more palatable for these reduced tillage practices, right? We have less straw to deal with from last year's harvest. It's nice to have the organic matter back in the soil, and the ducks and geese and water help us do that.
Well, Ryan, it sounds like you're being real stewards of the land here on your operation. You take from reduced tillage to also providing these flood up services for the water, all that visit your fields. What points can you give to farmers, knowledge, anything that you would give to farmers that are looking to implement these practices, something to look out for, just points of constraint within these practices?
Well, I think it's always important to be on the lookout for tools that can benefit your farm and your soil type and your family, right? I think it's important to have those loyalties or those allegiances.
Being willing to change your practices and being willing to open.
That's right, and that's been the biggest thing is as a family, we've made the commitment in lots of areas to be different in the way we operate, different than the way we did it in the past. I think that's a challenge for farmers who are very grounded in tradition, if you will, right? And sometimes it's difficult to break out of past molds. Neighbors might laugh at me, or the banker might not like this or not understand this, and my agronomist might not understand what I'm trying to do. So sometimes you have to have some great relationships with those ancillary folks on the outside of your operation who are cheerleaders and not folks putting up impediments to your business. I think those are important things to consider. But again, it's kind of a mindset or frame of mind that you want to do better economically and environmentally. I think once you get into that frame of mind, there's things you can do to maneuver to not only enhance those things, but also your bottom line and time with your families.
It's like communication is a huge component of these changing.
I think that's one of the reasons we're here today is communication, right? We live in a society today where we're working with lots of different suppliers and providers of everything from crop insurance to fertilizers or crop protection tools and certainly like water districts that provide our irrigation water. And so those relationships are all important, and the communication thing is most important there because it's important to kind of let those folks be a part of your team rather than kind of fighting your team, so to speak.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Ryan. We're ready to get out to the field. I want to see some of this equipment if you're willing to show us this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.